Welcome to the Barton FM football podcast. I'm Richard Watson. I'm joined by Phil Withers and Aaron Irwin. We're going to be discussing all things North Counties East League during the season. But the FA have come out with some guidelines about possible restart of the season. And they say if it can start in August, it'll be a normal season. If it's September, October, full league season, but with no league or county cups. If it's November to January, not possible for a full league season to be played. And in this situation, either half seasons or splitting divisions in half. So if it splits divisions in half, that'd be 10 teams in 4 divisions. And also, worst case scenario, later in January, the restructured league may be held and the league may be held over to 2021-22. What are your initial thoughts on that, Phil?
It's good to see the FA come out with something that gives all clubs dates to aim at. Obviously, it can't be anything specific at the moment because nobody knows, but at least clubs can prepare now for the different options. And obviously, everybody would like to be playing September and have as much of a full season as possible. But that really is in the lap of the gods, isn't it, at the moment? We're seeing some spikes in the R rate in various places. So coming out of lockdown, and we're not sure whether we're not going to be back in lockdown in the near future. Being pessimistic, I think we might well be, certainly in some parts of the country. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, credit to the FA. They took some stick for the way they dealt with the situation earlier on. But now they're showing some leadership.
Yeah, it's good to see. What was your reaction to it, Aaron?
I was glad that we have something a bit more concrete, something a bit more in place. September, October looks possible, like the most likely, which is ideal really for us. Because obviously the quicker we can get back and safely, the better. Getting back in January, it'd be, tough because you'd have to wait till most likely this time next year to start another season. So we'd go pretty much a whole year without any football. So obviously, yeah, like Phil says, great to see FA give us a bit more of an idea of what we can do and when, and hopefully it's a safe return to football.
Yeah, it's also good to see the FA say specifically that this level of football can't go ahead behind closed doors. It's got to be with everything open. So let's hope the pubs and the restaurants if they get open in July, maybe it does give you a chance of getting going in September. Because there's probably going to be more crowded into some of the pubs and restaurants than there are turning up to North Counties East League matches, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem for non-league clubs, especially at the level we're looking at around here, is getting the clubhouses open. You can do hot catering, hot drinks, or food to a number of grounds because, like Barton, they serve at an outside window. So that's easy enough to control. People can make the 2 meters to 1 meter if that's what we're down to by then. They can do that quite easily. There's limited contact between the people who are serving from the kitchen to those who are buying. So that's relatively straightforward. But the issue is the bar. And people are going to want to go in and get drinks if possible. But I'm not sure how many people you get in the bar at Barton even with a 1 meter distance in Aaron. Is it something you've already looked at?
Yeah, well, I think the clubhouse would be a no-go until, we hear any more about places opening up again. Like you say, we could serve it through the kitchen possibly. That'd be a possible avenue to look down. But as you know, at Barton, we've got quite a small bar as it is. So it'd be a struggle, I think, to get the clubhouse open. And obviously behind closed doors would just be a no chance because we'd lose money straight away on the electrics and the everything like that.
Yeah, you've got to have some money coming in, without a doubt. And owners like Mark Gregory, they're great for the clubs, but there's a limit to how much money they're either able to spend or want to spend in these circumstances, and that's fully understandable. We're all grateful for the money that people like Mark put into the club, but there has to be a limit. I think the other issue then with the clubhouse and the catering, people mention it only really in respect to the fans, but you've got the hospitality issues. You have a relatively small boardroom, hospitality room at Barton. You're not going to get many people in that, even with 1 metre distancing with the current table that you have in. Now, that could be moved out. You could put different arrangements on, but how many people can you get in there? And then there's the post-match hospitality for players, which most clubs put on. It may only be a tray of sandwiches in some cases. Other clubs will put on a bit of hot food, sausage and chips or a curry and rice or something like that. But that even may be difficult to do going forward. They've all got to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, Barton's kitchen is quite little. The hospitality area is small. At the best of times, it's a struggle to fit more than two or three people in there. So yeah, I mean, hospitality would be a struggle. Obviously, all the players sort of bunch up after games. They all sit together and chat. So yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle.
One thing they've mentioned specifically, if it starts in September, and let's hope it starts in September. No county cups or league cups. I mean, I've never thought a lot of county cups really. I don't think that's a great loss, is it? The county cup.
Not for Barton. No, I mean, no. We don't want to discredit it by any means, but it's one of our lesser priorities. We had a good game last year at Skegness. Obviously, that was a good adventure, I guess. But yeah, I'd say the league and the FA Cups, they're the priorities. And the county cups, well, they are important. They are, they do sort of pale in comparison to stuff like the league, like the FA Cup and the Vars, the ones that really bring money in for the clubs and ones that we do like to focus on.
Yeah, I suppose the FA Cup's going to be a big thing, isn't there? Because it also says they're obviously contracted to have the third round by the 3rd of January. It may take some fitting in. I wonder if they'll shrink the FA Cup down to accommodate that. I mean, there'd be teams sort of starting July, August, wouldn't there, with preliminary games and everything. I wonder what they'll do there.
I think what they're going to have to do if they want to run it and the seasons can start at least in September, they might just have to chop, say, the Step 6 teams out of it and just run with Team Step 5 and be above, and then that's at least should reduce 1 round and possibly 2. Might be a way forward. Be a lot of upset at Step 6 if that happens, but it still give the maximum number possible in the current situation an opportunity at getting some prize money, and maybe the Step 6 clubs that have entered and have been accepted could or be given, I don't know, a half payment for the extra preliminary round, whichever ones they get chopped out of. So they don't lose out completely. But obviously they lose out on greater prize money through progression should they get through. But everything's got to be making the best of a not very good situation, really.
I mean, what they might do is they're on about extending the season out into May. So what they could do with the FA Cup is you play on a Saturday and then a week on Wednesday or Tuesday, you play that other game and you try and squeeze the FA Cup in as much as you can at the beginning of the season. Because then if we're playing till May, we can have a few more league games then, midweek like we do anyway. That's the only way I can see, accommodating the Step 6, Step 5 would probably struggle to get in if they condense the rounds up. So the only way I can see it working is if they do midweek FA Cup games as well, and sort of get rid of replays and just do a 1-game system. Yeah,
it's a difficult one. Much as I like replays, I think maybe it'll be said for this coming season, whenever they don't have them, I don't think they'd ever come back. Actually,
that's the thing, isn't it?
I think they'd be taken out forever.
Yeah.
But I think they've got to run the FA Cup. Maybe they've just got to say, okay, forget what dates we put in the calendar for this year. We'll start with the extra preliminary round on the first weekend of competitive football, whenever that is. Preliminary rounds the week after. 1 queue's the one after that, 2 queues the one after that, and the first 4-5 weeks. They don't necessarily schedule league fixtures. They can go out as provisional for teams that get knocked out and be played. But I think you just got to play the FA Cup early. As Aaron's just said, the league games that aren't played can, if necessary, go back to the end of the season and extend it into May.
Yeah, and let's hope they get the FA VARs in as well. I suppose again with the FA VARs, it could just be one tie, couldn't it? Penalties. I think
it would have to be.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to get the FA VARs in and have replays. And although the early rounds, of course, are localised, as you get a little bit further on, some of the midweek journeys are going to be horrendous for the lower sides. So.
Yeah, that's one thing for sure. If a condensed season, it's going to be tough for players. I should think, and tough for players to be available for all the games for starters. I would have thought.
Yeah, you can have the same with match officials as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's talking about the players, but you know, you've got to get your 3 match officials out there as well.
Obviously, on the committee, you know, people need to come in, get the nets up, get the lights on. You know, the managers might not be able to make it. They might be tied up at work until X o'clock, and so you know, I think everyone's going to struggle. I mean, the players they don't mind. If a game comes, they just want the next one. They want the next one. They want to keep playing. But yeah, the fatigue will set in eventually, I think, and then towards the tail end of the season, you'll see players struggling, possibly with injuries, with fitness. I don't know. I mean, it's an unprecedented situation. So no one knows what to expect, what to do. We're all just going to have to play it by ear, see what happens, I think.
Yeah, so virtually at our level, everybody at the club, with the exception of the players the management who get paid, virtually everybody is a volunteer. May have bar staff that get paid on a casual basis, but that's about it. I'm useless at guessing people's ages by looking at them. But one of the issues that you do have in non-league soccer in particular, and the charity shops have got the same problem, talking to some charity workers this week, too many of the volunteers, late 60s, over 70, and they've clearly got worries about being in an age group that's quite susceptible to catching the virus. And you've got to wonder how many people in that situation are going to go back, either volunteer at the football club, the charity shop, or whatever. I mean, so it's partly in my mind. I'm closer to 60 than I am to closer to 60 to 70 now than I am to 60, and you know, I'm thinking about, you know, what do we do and what's safe and what's not. Got to start living again, but it is at the back of my mind, obviously. And I'm sure there's one or two other people at Barton who similar age to myself, and certainly are in other clubs in the area, and some well over that. And it's how they respond.
Well, it's if they put it to over 50s as well, that gives an even bigger problem.
Yes.
There's a lot of people be taken out of voluntary roles if it's over 50s.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They say everybody focuses on the players and the team, because obviously that is the reason why the football club is there, but the football club is so much more than those players.
So I wonder what will happen pre-season wise if September's given the go-ahead. Do you think clubs will have about a month pre-season? How do you reckon that'll work out?
Yeah, I think pre-seasons, again, it's a weird one, because we still need to play games, we need to get some match fitness up. Whether they just play games in training, you know, if say we have 20 odd players or reserves and the first team could play each other or something that just gets a bit of sharpness back, you know, get some fit, get some ready for the start of competitive football. I mean, I'm not too sure. It's because we can't exactly do what they're doing in the Premier League now. We can't all get tested because it bankrupts us before the game even starts.
Yeah.
Affording all these kits, so I don't know is the honest answer.
And the sad thing is, you're not going to be out of your pre-season friendlies against, say, a league club, which might be a money spinner. They're just going to be out the door, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even them, if they bring in a crowd of 500, you're looking at, you know, £2,000-3,000 coming in through the gate, plus all what would have been all your ancillary takings as well, which may be very badly hit. I just was thinking pre-season games probably could be played behind closed doors. I'm not sure that a lot of clubs with pre-season games at this level actually pay the players for pre-season. They wait till the competitive season starts, so you're not going to be using floodlights. Yeah, you've got some electricity and heating for showers and stuff like that, but the costs become relatively minor. If players aren't being paid, you're not running the catering facilities or anything. So you could get away maybe behind closed doors games. I'm sure some local teams are willing to play, even though it's not quite the level you would have liked, as you would have had in previous seasons, but it's possibly an option.
I think, yeah, I mean, behind closed doors will be fine because pre-season will kick off at 7, I think, in midweek. So obviously by the time the game ends, the sun's still up, but still in the visibility. You know, and I don't know how it does work in pre-season. I've never really got into it, but the way I see it is it's like a trial process. And I mean, you see managers chopping and changing the squad as and when they like. So paying all them, I don't know if that works. Yeah, I mean, behind closed doors, friendly's probably fine, but then once a competitive season starts, we'd need to reassess and look at getting crowds in, getting some money back in.
Yeah, I think it's one of the bugbears that you just mentioned there when you're reporting or commentating on a game pre-season, the constant switching of players. You're trying to find out who's come on. You go and ask another player, you know, standing at the side of the pitch, or even one of the management. I don't know who that is. He turned up. We said we'd give him a game if he came out tonight with a pair of boots. You know,
well, I always stand by
nightmare.
I always stand by the dugouts because then I ask, like, oh, who's changed? And last season, Dave Ricciardo just gave me a piece of paper and went, right, that's who's on, that's who's off. And then it had all the numbers on it, so I had to just keep an eye on it. But
yeah,
it is tough.
Yeah, not good when, of course, you've only got shirts numbered 1 to 17, and you're putting on 25 players, and they've got to have a numbered shirt on.
Not good for the players either, probably to put a shirt on that's already been worn, I suspect.
Yeah, I suppose actually that's quite a serious issue, although
Well,
we're
it would be
giggling
now,
about
wouldn't it? Yeah, it would
But
be.
yeah,
now.
it would be a serious issue at the moment.
They probably just have to wear like numberless shirts, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Skins.
Yeah.
Skins against shirts.
Yes.
I mean, one thing that does surprise me at the moment, you see clubs announcing that they've signed A, B, C, D, etc., etc., and they must be doing that without paperwork signed. I think that's always a dangerous game. There's always a chance that somebody's going to disappear somewhere else.
Like I said, I don't think we can sign papers till July 1st, so that's why we're staying quiet at the minute, because we got burned on that last season. We announced a player had signed in the air. He went and signed for someone else before the season started. So we are wary of that, and that's why we're not. You know, I've spoken to Rob, our manager, and he said the same thing. He said, not till the ink's dry, we're not going to announce anything. We're going to do it all properly by the book and make sure, you know, we do have those players in for when the season starts, and we're not going to.
Yeah. Well, managers have players in mind, don't they? And no doubt they're talking to players, and no doubt players are contacting managers. You know, any chance, you know, playing for you next season. You know, we've been together at a previous club, and, you know, wouldn't mind us being together again. And I like what you're trying to get done at your latest club and so on. So, yeah, they're going to talk to each other. But, you know, as Rob says, you know, you don't talk about it until the right time. No point in giving advance warning to other clubs anyway, players who might be available if you're the only one in the know.
I mean, and I've seen a couple of our players from last season have signed on for other clubs already, so they're already ones you can sort of eliminate from our list. I'm sure Rob has a list of players. I'm sure he's verbally agreed some signings already. He's probably got his contract players in mind. He's probably got a big list in his little black book of players he's rang up and said, do you want to come play for us next season? So I've got every faith in him that he's going to bring a team in. Obviously, we're just going to wait and do it by the book, do it properly.
Yeah, we probably should mention it. Of course, we're talking about Rob because it's a change of manager since the end of the season. It's good to see continuity though with Rob Watson taking over. I presume it must have been a fairly easy decision to ask him to take over once Craig Denton went.
I think it was a no-brainer for him. that was his aim when Craig left. He probably wanted to put his name in the door first. Make sure he had first refusal on it. And from when I've spoken to him, he seems keen. You know, he seems really up for the challenge next season. When we finally do get back underway, you know, sad to see Craig go. By all means, you know, he was good for the club, good manager, but obviously he's had to move closer to home for family reasons, which is fair enough. So let's just all get behind Rob and see what Rob can do.
Yeah, because I mean, the way the season finished, things were looking pretty encouraging, weren't they, for this coming season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've turned a corner definitely since Craig and Rob and James Wynne and the whole team came in. We started to look up rather than down. It was looking good for a top 10 spot. I think we finished 11th once the season was finished and expunged, which, yeah, it's good from where it was a couple of months before, 19th in the doldrums, looking a bit over our shoulder, really.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how many players want to actually play. Not particularly at Barton, but they'll have had 3, 4, 5 months off by the time the season starts, and maybe 4 months before any sort of sensible training can begin. And a lot might decide, maybe I'm not as much in love with football now as I once was.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's given everyone a time to reflect on it, really. I mean, this lockdown, it's made everyone really reassess stuff. I follow a lot of players on Twitter. I've seen them all posting, running times and staying fit. So I assume they are trying to, keep their themselves fit, keep them ready, prepared to come back to football eventually. If they want to, I mean, they might just be keeping fit because they want to keep fit. I have to give them something to do. I'm not sure, but surely it's to sort of keep the football in the back of their heads for when we get back to normal.
And I wonder if any clubs will go. I was going to say, I wonder if any clubs will go by the wayside, because it must be so difficult surviving without any money coming through the door for some of them.
I've seen a few, haven't you, that have sort of had to let managers go. Even this is in, I think it was Barton. I think they had to let Nigel clubs go because they couldn't afford it, So for people at non-league where money is a lot more vital and a lot harder to come by, I've not heard of any, but I would imagine a few clubs have gone. I don't know about our level. Our level seem, well, in the NCAL anyway, we all seem quite steady, able to survive, not struggling as such, but we only know what's been broadcast. We don't know what's been happening behind closed doors of all these clubs. They might have had crisis meetings where they need money. We aren't too sure, but like I say, everyone seems okay so far.
There seems to be a lot of grants being given out to the FA on pitch renovation and things like that. I suppose that's the biggest sort of expense at this time of year, isn't it? Getting the pitch maintained in good condition.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of our club. I mean, Law and Order have done a brilliant job. I saw a photo of it yesterday and it's looking like a carpet. So, they've done some good work to our club, and thanks to them for, putting their club in, putting their efforts into the club and giving us a nice pitch to play on for when we can get back in.
Yeah, I think going back to something said a few minutes ago about the age of volunteers at clubs and whether or not clubs might fold, that we mentioned just now, is the ability or willingness of the older generation to actually get down to the club and help out. If you've not got enough people, you could be in serious trouble at actually running the club, and that might cause one or two to fold rather than at the moment any lack of money, because expenses are relatively low at the time being. Be interesting to see. Going back a good number of years now, a club called Mickle Overall British Legion packed up. The committee had all got to the 70s and above and just decided too much at their age to be running a football club. They appealed for younger people to come in and run it, and nobody was, so they just folded it.
That's another thing, isn't it? I mean, people just I don't think people realise how good the non-league game is. They'll watch the Premier League, but they won't come watch the non-league game. They think it's Sunday football, but there's absolutely no way at this sort of level it's anything like Sunday football. There's plenty of sort of decent players about, isn't there, at this level, that I don't think people realise what a good standard it is.
I mean, that's what frustrates me. I think some people just sort of fall off non-league as it's just 50-50 tackles, it's boring games, it's nothing. It's not a good standard of football, but it's it's £5 on the door. Come in and give it a go. You might enjoy it. I know a lot of people who had whole city season passes and they've sort of chucked them really to come watch Barton or Brid, Hall Road, whoever. So it's all it's just non-league. I think it's brilliant. It's just it's a better standard of football than everyone thinks. And
yeah, like I said, at football, you get most games are run of the mill. They're fairly average. There's nothing overly memorable in most of them. The odd goal, but you go away after a game, you think, yeah, I enjoyed it. decent way to spend a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon, Tuesday evening, or whatever. But very few games, I think, really stick in people's minds over the years. When you've watched, hundreds as we have, they tend to meld one into another anyway. Even the seasons do.
Yeah, definitely.
I look at it, go down, and I want to watch it for the afternoon. I've got irritated with people who say, "Oh, we should have the season tickets refunded and what have you," because last season was null and void. Well, you've gone down, you paid your money, you've seen a game of football. All right, it was tough. The season didn't pan out. Your team didn't get promotion, or you managed to avoid relegation. Or you think, thank God, it's about time we were relegated. We've gone at this level for far too long and struggled. But you've watched it. You've seen your game, and that's what you go out for on a match day. It's not to see the title at the end of the season. It's to watch your game for that 90 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like you say, for every 5-0 win, there's a 0-0 draw. Not every game's going to be a blockbuster game. I mean, I've seen a lot of 0-0 draws and come away frustrated. But on the other side of the coin, I've seen a lot of games where I thought, wow, that was a good game of football. Win or lose. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't see why people don't give it a chance. People should just give it a try. It's cheap, it's cheerful, the booze is cheap, and there's a real sense of community around these clubs. You'll come in and feel a part of the family straight away. There's people that have come to us and said, you make us feel real welcome, we're real happy to be here, all this stuff. So come down, have a go. You might like it. You might stay and become a loyal fan.
Yeah, I know some people say some clubs aren't particularly welcoming, but I think part of the problem at non-league level is, and certainly the lower down you go, you've got fewer and fewer people at the club who are volunteering to do jobs. So very often the volunteers are doing 2 or 3 jobs on a match day, and they're chasing around after themselves and after everybody else, and you don't necessarily get the chance to give a full gushing welcome to visitors. Hello, I'm off. Got to do this, and people might think you're a bit brusque, you're a bit off, but you're not. You're just busy. And without you being busy, that game's not going to happen.
I mean,
you can get right up to the action. You can stand right up against the pitch virtually. It's a great way to experience a game of football. You also got the players will speak to the spectators. They're not prima donnas. If you're Premier League players, you would never get near, would you? But you're touching shoulders almost in the bar with a good bunch of players at non-league level, and it's just a great experience. I would certainly urge people to get down to a non-league game, and Barton Town in particular.
Yeah, I've been watching non-league since the late 60s, and I've watched the odd Football League game as they were, and I've never been to a Premier League game yet, but the odd Football League game, but I'd never go back on a regular basis to that level of football. Non-league, like you say, is just so much better. It's friendlier, you're closer to the play, you can hear what's being said on the pitch. And for those of you now watching the non-crowd pulling Premier League on the television, and you can hear what's being said on the pitch possibly, although I'm not watching it. If you're enjoying that, we'll get down to non-league, because you'll hear that every game you go to.
And even better, there's no VAR.
To it. Certainly adds to the game. Yeah, maybe you have to be prepared for a few words you'd perhaps not rather be hearing, but we hear those in everyday life anyway, so what? Hear players talking to each other, managers talking to them. It can be quite amusing at times, actually.
Yeah, certainly can, yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up for now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with another edition of the podcast in the not too distant future. Thanks very much.
Okay. All right. Cheers. Bye, everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Bye.